go over the train. We got one more speaker coming up, ladies and gentlemen, and she also came from Sleepy Hollow. So please put your hands together for Maya Kharem. Ladies and gentlemen, Maya Kharem.
My name is Maya Kharem. I am a student at Sleepy Hollow High School, and I am one of the many affected by the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School on Wednesday, February 14th. This tragic event has risen fear in students, teachers, and parents alike. No parent wants to send their child to school with any doubt that they will return. No student wants to witness the death of her friend. No student wants to be a victim. No teacher wants to have to be a hero. The issues surrounding this event have proven to be very controversial, especially over the last 2 weeks. These basic facts, however, are not controversial. Most people can understand these basic truths, but many don't know how to go about fixing the problems that many public schools in America are faced with. As we know, there has been a lot of conversation around what we can do to prevent this ugly trend from continuing in the future. And many of the students who attended the school have been lobbying actively to press legislative measures to protect students around the country. This most recent shooting was a tipping point for many of us students. A whole movement has been born. We will not stop until change has been made. Many students in my generation are raising their voices. Not only has American youth stepped up with actions and words, but many of us will be of voting age by the time the next presidential election comes.
Yeah, that's right.
We will be eligible to vote in upcoming local elections.
Yeah, that's right.
We are the future leaders, and by inspiring us to affect change, we will affect change.
Yes.
First, it is important to understand the gravity of gun violence in America. In 2018, there have been 8,707 gun-related incidents, and it is only March. Just 2 days ago, a woman was shot to death in Tarrytown, and it is painful to say that she has become just another statistic. Yesterday, I saw her listed on a website, along with at least 30 other people shot to death at the same day. The statistic was nameless. Why have we accepted this as normal? Our school was on lockout all day Tuesday, meaning no students could leave, and only students and teachers could enter. This was the first time that I realized that I could personally be affected by the issue. People argue that owning a gun is a right, not a privilege. This has been a very debated topic, especially since the tragedy. Students and teachers should be safe in a school environment. That is a right, not a privilege.
Right, that's right.
There are two major reasons why I believe that owning a gun is not a right. When someone makes this statement, what are they really saying? I thought about this and I broke it down in my head. Guns are for one thing and one thing only. Guns were created to kill. If owning a gun is a right, then does that make it right to take someone's life? The second reason why I don't believe that gun ownership is a right is because the Second Amendment in the United States Constitution was created in 1791. At that point in our history, the arms they were referring to were far less dangerous and deadly as the ones we have today. To apply the same laws to those weapons as we do today is absurd, and that needs to change immediately. Owning a gun is not a right. It's a privilege. We will make our gun control laws stricter until hearing about someone dead from a bullet is no longer normal. I realize that these issues can be changed mostly on a federal level, and our current president has received millions of dollars from the NRA. This will make the job much more difficult, but no less possible. That is why we need to come together as a community and make statements. We need to make changes, and we need to act locally and think globally. Aside from pushing legislature, there are things we can do within our school community. One of the most important things we can do is practice more realistic and effective lockdown procedures. If there is a shooter in my classroom, I honestly haven't the slightest clue what to do. What if I'm in the hallway and I can't get into a classroom? We need to be more prepared for any situation, and we need to be more informed. Secondly, our school promotes anti-bullying campaigns, and that is a great quality of Sleepy Hollow High School, but a lot goes on behind the scenes. Social media is extremely difficult to monitor, and it can't be expected of administrators and teachers to catch every little thing that happens. This is why we need better education about what it means to bully and the effects of it. Growing up, I was always under the impression that bullying meant to push someone into a locker or to call them names. But with the help of my mother, who's a therapist, I have come to realize that there is a lot we don't learn in health class or at bullying assemblies. I've private messaged people on social media countless times, kindly letting them know that what they've posted was hurtful or unkind. I've reported bullies at school. I've made uncomfortable comments on some of my closest friends' behavior when they maybe took a joke too far. I can't count how many times I felt embarrassed, or the amount of times people have told me to lighten up. I can't count the amount of times I wanted so badly to walk away but didn't. No, it doesn't always feel good to do the right thing. It doesn't always make you look brave or look like a hero. Sometimes people make fun of you. Sometimes you might sound just like a teacher and not just like another kid, making you and the people around you uncomfortable. I've come to realize that this doesn't make me a better person than the kid making fun of someone. It just shows that I am more aware of what bullying is. Many people would never consider themselves a bully and would be horrified to find out that they've been bullying all along. Bullying is gossiping about someone. Bullying is letting a new kid sit at a table by him or herself. Bullying is making a joke at someone's expense, even if that someone is your best friend.
That's right. That's right.
Bullying is making a plan with the whole group and purposefully leaving out one person. Bullying is posting something on social media with a comment making fun of someone. I used to think that bullying didn't exist in Sleepy Hollow High School. I never saw kids getting pushed into lockers. I never saw kids pointing and laughing. As a student at Sleepy Hollow High School, I can certainly say that bullying does exist, and most students do it and witness it without even realizing. And that needs to change.
Yeah.
Eric Harris, one of the two Columbine shooters, was a very disturbed and socially isolated student. At a certain point when the shooting was taking place, Eric walked into a classroom and told everyone wearing a white hat to stand up. The jocks wore white hats. White hats were a trend in the school that symbolized your social status. Eric felt isolated, and he blamed his actions on the social hierarchy of Columbine High School, the white hats. The shooting was not the fault of the kids wearing white hats. It was not the fault of anyone but the shooters because they made the choice. It is essential, however, to be hyper-aware of someone who might feel the way that Eric and Dylan Klebold felt. They were disturbed and homicidal, but they were also bullied, and they considered that a large reason why they did what they did. Before one of my teachers told my class that many school shooters are bullied, I honestly say I had never considered it. It isn't always easy to do the right thing, but you might take a step to save a life. Kindness is one of the most powerful things, and there isn't enough of it in our schools.
Yes.
A solution I found for our schools is to let students lead assemblies about bullying, or to help students understand what bullying really is and the effects it can really have. We might be more receptive hearing from kids our age. It never seems real enough until something happens. We can't wait. There is a lot we don't understand. The signs of bullying, the right thing to do, the impact of our actions. Education is key. In addition, it proves that having a larger student resource department at our school will be extremely beneficial. Making students aware that they can and should seek help if they or their friends are suffering from any mental health disorder or suicidal feelings can change people's lives. Many students don't consider that there are resources, especially if maybe they can't afford help or they can't talk to their parents. Many students don't feel like they have someone to talk to and they don't know what to do. I think, however, that we could largely benefit from having even more student resources to go to. Knowing that they have or having more professionals to talk to could prevent someone from spiraling into a homicidal episode. So many cases of depression go unreported. Mental illness can and does play a huge part in people's decisions to bring harm to their peers, and offering more services is another way that school shootings can be prevented. Along these same lines, many students hesitate to report the signs of a school shooter because they are embarrassed or because they don't know what the signs are. Many students are afraid that someone will find out if they report something. Maybe they don't want to get involved, or they just aren't sure whether or not it's a big deal. The first step is to educate students on what the warning signs are. Again, I believe that this is worthy of an assembly. Sandy Hook launched a campaign after their tragedy called Know the Signs. They make informative videos and they have lists of signs on their website. Some things that are listed surprised me, and I thought I knew what the signs were. The second thing is to encourage students to report anything suspicious by assuring them of confidentiality and also helping them to understand the impact they could have. They could prevent a school shooting or a suicide without even knowing what they're doing, maybe just taking precautions. Let them know that it is not only the right thing to do, it is the only thing to do. Inform students on how to report something. Let them know who they can come to, and that by reporting something, they won't be ruining anyone's life. These are things that go through our heads when we think about being completely honest with an adult who works for the school. We hear a lot of conflicting information when we go through our lives in high school. Rumors spread. One person might tell us that it's true, and one person might swear that it isn't. Our parents tell us not to go to a party, but our friends tell us to loosen up and that there's nothing to worry about. Our teachers tell us not to send pictures of the homework to our friends, but we don't want to sound uptight by saying no. We tend to make decisions that serve us socially. The decision many students are more likely to make is to stay quiet about any possible signs of a school shooter because we don't want to suffer the social consequences of being honest with an adult. It takes time and effort for school staff to build a trusting, safe, and supportive relationship with teens, and that is something we, as a school, need to work on in desperate times. It could save lives. Nicholas Cruz, the shooter at Stoneman Douglas High School, showed many signs of his plans, and it was absolutely preventable. Let's never have to say that again. Thank you.
All right, very good.
Thank you once again, Maya. Much appreciated. Give them all a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Please. I'm not going to say much tonight, but I will say it. This is what our future